Welcome back, dreamer. Tonight, we drift once more into the quiet space between thought and sleep, where your body softens and your spirit begins to listen. But before we continue to Dreamlands, feel free to like the video and subscribe for future adventures. Now, this isn't just a story. It's a memory you've forgotten, a journey you've taken before, not with your feet, but with your light. So close your eyes now. Let the breath slow. Let the room around you melt into stillness. Let yourself fall into that space between, not quite here, not quite gone, just enough to feel the weight slip away from your shoulders. The world outside becomes distant, soft, blurred, fading gently into nothing. Your hands are warm, your chest rises and falls with ease. You're not asleep yet, but sleep is very close. And somewhere inside that stillness, something begins to stir. A soundless voice, a whisper, just beneath your thoughts. Not loud, not clear, but familiar, calling not to your ears, but to your essence. You remember this feeling, though you've never given it a name. A gentle tug, like an invisible thread wrapped around your heart, pulling not away, but inward, toward a silence you somehow trust. This is where it always begins, not with a step, but with a surrender. Not with effort, but with allowing. And so, you let go of the day, the noise, the effort of holding things together. And as you do, you feel yourself beginning to loosen, not just your limbs, but the part of you that thinks, that controls, that plans. It's dissolving now, melting like fog under the morning sun, leaving only stillness and light and breath. This is not the end of you. This is the rest of you, waking. You are not imagining this. You are remembering. And the voice, that gentle, wordless whisper, it says, "You're ready." There's a moment, barely noticeable, where your body no longer holds all of you. It happens so slowly, you might miss it, but if you listen closely, you'll feel it. A loosening, a gentle unraveling of the invisible threads that tether you to form. It starts in the center of the chest, not as pressure, but as isness, a stillness, so deep, so subtle. It feels like something you've always known, but forgotten to notice. And from that stillness comes movement, not like lifting a hand, not like turning your head, but a shift without muscles, a motion without direction, as if something inside you, something light, something ancient, begins to drift upward. At first, you don't know if you're imagining it. You're still here, your body hasn't moved, and yet, part of you is no longer resting. It's not dreaming, it's departing. You may feel a slight tingling in your hands, or a weightlessness in your limbs, or nothing at all, but in the silence between your breaths, there's a presence, a soft pull, not like being taken, but like being invited. It's as if the space around you has always been whispering, and only now have you begun to hear it. The air feels different, thicker, maybe, or thinner, but definitely not the same. The bed beneath you is still there, but it matters less and less. The walls fade, the ceiling disappears, the room loses all of its edges, and in its place, there is only space, endless, quiet, alive, and something in that space is gently reaching toward you. It doesn't touch, it doesn't speak, but you feel it, like an echo you've been waiting to remember, a pulse, a rhythm, a frequency that matches your own, and your body, or what you used to call your body, begins to respond, not by resisting, but by release. With every breath, you drift just a little farther from the skin, from the bones, from the idea of self, as you once knew it. You haven't left completely. No, you're still here, still wrapped in warmth and breath, but something in you, something essential, is already moving forward, floating, like a thought that forgot it needed form, like memory freed from gravity. And with that movement comes quiet, a deeper kind of silence, not the absence of sound, but the presence of stillness, the kind of stillness that listens back. Your awareness stretches, expands, and the space around you receives it, welcomes it, like it's been waiting for you all along. There's nothing you need to do, no technique to follow, no path to walk. Just keep breathing, softly, slowly. Let each breath become a thread, unwinding the day, the story, the identity, until all that's left is you, the you that was always underneath, the one that floats, that remembers. And in that remembering, you begin to rise, not with effort, but with ease, not with fear, but with familiarity. This is not the first time, only the first time you've let it happen fully, and so you rise, quietly, gently, toward whatever is waiting, toward the place your soul already knows. You don't realize you've left. Not at first. There's no sudden jolt, no flash of light, no sound to mark the moment of separation. Only stillness, and then a gentle sense of shift. At first, you think you're still lying there, breathing softly, your body resting, your muscles heavy and at peace. But then something subtle changes. You notice your awareness has moved. Not far, not fast, but just enough. You're still in the room, or so you believe. But the room no longer feels solid, no longer sharp around the edges, no longer holding you. It feels as though the air itself has changed, like it's less dense, less heavy, almost spacious. And in that space, you feel a rising slow. At first, so slow you question if it's even happening. But then it continues, steady, soft, unmistakable. You're floating, not with wings, not with effort, but with release. A surrender so gentle, it barely feels like a choice. You look down, or rather, you sense downward, and there it is, the body, your body, still lying there, still breathing, still asleep, but you are no longer inside it. And that realization hits softly, like remembering the words to a song you didn't know you'd forgotten. There's no fear, no disconnection, only peace. You observe the body like you would a photograph of yourself from long ago. Familiar, but not quite you. Not anymore. You feel no urgency, no desire to return, no sense of loss, only curiosity, only presence. And in this weightless state, you begin to feel the space around you differently, not as emptiness, but as something alive. You're surrounded by silence, but it's a listening silence. It hears you, not your voice, not your thoughts. It hears your essence, and in return, it offers stillness. You begin to drift. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, you pass through the room, but the room doesn't resist. It simply lets you go. Walls are meaningless now. There are no edges, no distance, only the sense of gentle, continuous unfolding. You expand outward and inward. At the same time, a spiral of light, not seen, but not below you. The body remains, but you are becoming something else. Something closer to light than form, closer to feeling than thought, closer to memory than name. You move without motion, guided not by choice, but by alignment, as if the very fabric of this new space is responding to your energy, welcoming you, reorganizing itself around your presence. And in that welcoming, you feel a presence, not external, not foreign, but reflective, something or someone that mirrors your own awareness back to you. You are being watched, not by eyes, but by knowing. It sees you completely. And yet, you feel no shame, no hiding, no fear, only recognition, only calm, as though this presence has always known you and has simply been waiting for you to see it. And so you hover, suspended in silence, held not by gravity, but by attention. You feel whole, not because you are complete, but because nothing is missing. You don't know how long you've been floating. Time no longer moves the way it once did. There is only now, and it stretches in all directions. You exist outside the ticking of the clock, outside the spinning of the world. Here, you are not a body, you are not a story, you are not even a name. You are awareness, raw, expansive, infinite. And in this awareness, you feel something awaken, a whisper from somewhere deeper than before, a reminder, you've done this before. And just like that, the floating becomes familiar, the space becomes home, and the journey is only beginning. You don't fall from the sky. You don't sink through the earth. You simply begin to lower, gently, effortlessly, like mist following its own weight. No wind, no force, just release. This descent isn't dramatic. It is grand. It's intimate, quiet, sacred. The space around you begins to shift, not suddenly, but slowly, as if the universe is holding its breath. Thoughts begin to loosen, not disappear, but fade like stars at sunrise. You are not being taken, you are being allowed. You feel yourself remembering, not facts, not moments, but frequencies, emotions without stories, shape without form. Each breath you take becomes less yours and more the space itself. You feel it inhale with you, exhale with you. You are no longer the subject. You are the silence between each breath. Something ancient stirs below you. Not a place, not a voice, a presence. Familiar and distant, soft and fast. You begin to realize you are not descending through dimensions. You are descending through yourself. Through layers you didn't know were there, through walls built out of names, expectations, memories, stories you thought truth. With each second, your shape softens, not your body, but your identity. You are still, but in motion. You are silent, but becoming sound. The space hums with something unspoken, a resonance, a tone that matches only when you stop searching. So you let go of effort, of need, of name, and in that letting go, you feel the descent deepen into something vast and beautifully unknown. There is no end, because there is no floor, only depth, only stillness, only the soft echo of your becoming. There is no moment of arrival, no sudden opening, no gates swinging wide, no trumpet of awareness declaring that you've crossed into something new. It just happens, like waking into a dream you were already dreaming, like remembering a path your feet have never walked, but your soul somehow knows by heart. At first, there's only the sensation of drifting, a weightless, aimless glide through a space that is not quite empty, but not quite formed either. You're not moving forward, you're not being pulled. It's more like space itself is gently moving past you. And then you begin to notice something soft brushes against your perception. Not a wall, not a wind, but texture. Thick and pale, not cold, not warm, neutral, quiet, endless. Mist. It rolls across your awareness like thoughtless fog, filling the edges of your perception, clouding form, erasing distance. This is not like any mist you've known. It doesn't sting your skin. It doesn't wet your lungs. It doesn't drift. It listens. It feels sentient, deliberate, as though it's not here to hide things from you, but to reveal them slowly when you're ready. And as you float, or drift, or are carried through it, you begin to realize you're in a corridor, a passage, long, narrow, infinite. There are no walls, no floor, no ceiling, but something about the shape of the mist gathers you, guides you, as if the space is not made of structure, but of intention. You try to orient yourself, up, down, left, right, but none of those ideas hold. Direction has lost its grip, and you, for the first time, are not trying to get anywhere. You're just here, moving without moving, being carried without resistance, without decision. And in this corridor, time feels like a soft hum, not ticking, but pulsing, like something is waiting on the other end, but in no rush to meet you. You sense presences, not figures, not shadows, just feelings, memories that don't belong to you, emotions suspended in the mist. You pass through them, or they pass through you, and for a moment you forget who you are, not in a frightening way, in a freeing way, like shedding a skin you didn't know was weighing you down. And the more you let go of yourself, the clearer the mist becomes. Shapes start to form, not quite solid, but suggested. A column, a step, a distant archway that might be made of light, or thought, or sound. And then it fades, because you're not meant to see it. Not yet. You feel no frustration, only surrender. The mist is teaching you how to be led without asking where you're going. It is dissolving the part of you that needs answers, so that something deeper can receive knowing. You drift longer, or maybe only a moment passes. It's impossible to tell. And in this timeless drift, you begin to hear something, a sound, but not from the outside. It comes from inside the space, or maybe from inside you. A tone, low, pure, continuous, not a melody, not a message, just a vibration. And as you notice it, it begins to respond. It aligns with your breath, your pulse, your presence, as though this corridor, this mist, this in-between realm, has been waiting for your frequency to stabilize. And now that it has, you sense it clearly. You are being led, somewhere specific, somewhere necessary. This is not random, not a dreamscape, not a hallucination. This is a threshold, an astral rite of passage, a bridge between identities. You, who began in a bed, are no longer resting. You are becoming, and the mist, this corridor of forgotten rules, is your cocoon. It will not rush you. It will not show you what comes next, but it will carry you there, in silence, in softness, in absolute surrender, and in the distance, not far, but not yet near, you sense something begin to take shape, not in form, but in pull. Something is calling, not loudly, but unmistakably, and the mist, as if sensing your readiness, begins to part, just slightly, just enough, and you drift forward, not because you choose to, but because the next part of you is already waiting. You don't remember when you stopped moving. There was no sudden stop, no edge, no barrier, just a gradual stillness, a slow hush that wrapped itself around you until everything, including your breath, became weightless. The mist has changed, not disappeared, but stilled, as if it knows. You've arrived at a place where movement no longer matters. You float in silence, real silence, not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper. And then you feel it, not in your skin, not in your ears, but in the space around you. The stillness is not empty, it's inhabited. At first, it's subtle, a shift in temperature that doesn't touch your body, a pressure that doesn't press, a gaze without eyes. You turn, or you think you do. There are no directions anymore, but something pulls your awareness to one side, and then you see them, not faces, not figures, but a presence, lined up in the mist, like shadows burned into fog, a wall, endless, unmoving, silent. They stand, or float, or simply exist, shoulder to shoulder, row by row. They do not speak, they do not blink, they do not move, and yet they are undeniably aware of you, not hostile, not even curious, just watching, not like eyes on a screen, but like memories remembering themselves. You try to look away, but there is no away. Wherever you turn, they remain in your vision, as if they're not in space, but in your perception. They are not blocking your path. They are the path. You float closer, or maybe they draw nearer, and with each heartbeat, you feel their presence deepening, and then something strange happens. You begin to hear them, but not with sound. There are no voices, no words, just vibrations, emotions, like echoes of things long felt, but never spoken. Grief, peace, loneliness, wisdom, they pour into you, as if you've opened a door to 1,000 forgotten rooms. You don't know whose memories these are, but they are real. You feel a child's laughter, but it doesn't make you smile. You feel the weight of a farewell, but it doesn't make you cry. These emotions pass through you, like wind through tall grass. They don't cling. They don't ask for anything. They just flow. You begin to understand. They are not here to teach you, or to judge you. They are here to remind you that you are not the first to walk this path, that others have floated in this mist, paused before this wall, faced themselves, and continued on. You are not alone here. You were never alone. And still, they remain, silent. But their silence is alive. It wraps around you like a hum, soft, slow, deliberate, a silence that listens. You drift in front of them, as if being scanned by something ancient, and suddenly, you feel your thoughts being reflected back at you, not repeated, not copied, but known. as if every thought you've ever had already lives within this wall. And it sees you thinking, not invasively, not with force, but like a mirror that breathes. You wonder if you should speak, but before the thought is fully formed, you realize they've already heard it. Every thought, every fear, every wish, they've heard it because you've been here before. Maybe not in this body, maybe not in this time, but part of you has stood before this wall in lifetimes unspoken. And now, you've returned, not to ask questions, but to remember. And as you float there, in front of them, with your thoughts stripped bare, something gentle unfolds inside you. A feeling, not of being seen, but of being known. And in that knowing, you feel something shift in the wall. A softness, a shimmer, and you understand they are not here to keep you out. They are here to let you through, but only when you're ready. And so you wait, in stillness, in silence, in shared breath, with something eternal. And in that stillness, the wall does not move, but it opens, not as a gate, but as a feeling, a gentle pull, forward, into whatever comes next. You don't notice it at first. It doesn't arrive. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't move. It simply is, and suddenly, you feel its presence, as if it's always been there, watching, not from the wall you passed, not from above, but from within the space itself, from somewhere just behind your awareness. You turn, if turning still means anything here, and there it is. The observer, not a person, not a shape, not a being made of bone or light or voice, just a presence, fixed, still, aware. It doesn't speak, but you hear it, not in language, but in silence. And in that silence, you feel yourself begin to unravel, not in fear, but in recognition. You felt this before, not in this lifetime, not in this body, but somewhere, long before skin and name and memory. This presence knows you, not as you think you are, not as others see you, but as something beneath all that, as essence. It doesn't blink, it doesn't breathe, but it is deeply, undeniably, alive. You don't know how long you're facing it. Time has folded itself away, or perhaps it never mattered here. You try to speak, but the thought crumbles before it reaches form. There is no need. The observer hears what you have not yet said, sees what you have not yet admitted, understands what you don't even know how to ask. And still, it remains. Stillness, wrapped in infinite perception, you begin to feel something strange. A warmth in your chest, a pulse that doesn't match your heartbeat, but resonates just behind it, as if your soul has begun to hum, not in fear, not in confusion, but in memory. You feel remembered, not seen, not examined, remembered, as though this presence has carried the blueprint of your being through countless ages, and now you've returned to its awareness, not for judgment, not for answers, but simply to be witnessed. And the more you stand in its stillness, the more of yourself begins to come forward. Parts of you you'd long forgotten, a thought you buried years ago, a version of yourself that never had a voice, a flicker of joy you once felt as a child. They rise up, not to haunt you, but to greet this gaze, and the observer receives all of it, without change, without reaction, as if nothing in you has ever needed to be hidden. You realize now, this presence has always known every version of you, the proud ones, the broken ones, the ones that dared, and the ones that ran. It has seen them all, and still, it waits with the same silence. You feel yourself soften. You feel your questions, those ancient, aching questions, begin to fade. not because they've been answered, but because you no longer need them. In the presence of this awareness, you are no longer searching, you are simply present. And in that presence, you feel your edges begin to dissolve again, not your form, but your separation. The idea that you are apart from this presence melts, and in its place is unity, not merging, not disappearing, but a shared understanding, a resonance. You are not becoming it, and it is not becoming you, but for this moment, you exist in each other's knowing, and as you rest in that knowing, you feel something gentle stir in the space, a breathless whisper, not from the observer, but from the space around it. You were never forgotten. You don't know if it spoke, or if that truth simply bloomed inside you, but it doesn't matter, because you believe it, because you feel, because some part of you has waited lifetimes to hear it. And now, you have. The observer doesn't leave, it doesn't fade. It simply lets you go, with no words, no movement, no ending, just a deep, still release, like an old friend who never asked you to stay, but was always here when you returned. And as you turn, not away, but forward, you feel lighter, not because something has left you, but because something has returned. There is no motion anymore. Not because you've stopped, but because there's nothing left to move through. No mist, no presence, no corridor, no witness, only void, endless, still, unchanging. And you are float, but not in the way you once understood. Floating, there is no sense of up, no idea of down. No edge to define here, no center to return to. You are weightless, not just in body that was left long ago. You are weightless in identity, in memory, in name. You think a thought, but it doesn't stay. It rises, and then dissolves, like steam in open air. You feel something, but you don't have a word for it. Because feeling itself is changing. You're not sad, not happy, not afraid, not at peace. You are simply aware. And even that word feels too small. This void, it doesn't echo. It absorbs. It doesn't press or pull or judge. It just exists. Like it has always been here, waiting without waiting. And now you are in it, part of it. Or perhaps, you were never not in it. You remember your breath, but only as an idea. You remember time, but it stretches until it loses shape. Seconds, minutes, years, they are all the same here. You are drifting, but not going anywhere, because there is nowhere to go. And strangely, you don't mind. You feel free, not the kind of freedom that comes after breaking chains, but the kind that comes after forgetting you were ever chained. You begin to notice that there's no you to speak of, only observation, only perception, and even that is loosening. Your thoughts do not form, they arrive, briefly, then vanish, like soft lights blinking in and out of an infinite sky. You wonder if you're alone, but the question fades, because even alone requires two, and here, there is only one, or none. You don't know anymore, and it doesn't matter. There is no fear here, because fear requires boundaries, and there are none left. No walls, no definitions, no mirrors, nothing to reflect you back to yourself. And yet, you remain, not as shape, not as story, but as presence. And in that presence, something shifts, not outside, not around you, but inside the void itself. As if your being has created a ripple, or maybe the void has always been rippling. Because of you, there's no beginning here, no ending, only unfolding, only awareness. You feel expanded, but also perfectly still, like the universe has folded into a single breath, and you are resting in the pause between the inhale and the exhale. Time passes, or maybe it doesn't. You exist here, as long as you need to, and when you're ready, the void will let go, or perhaps you will. And when that moment comes, you will not hear a sound, you will not see a light, you will not feel a tug, But you will know that even nothingness is a place, that even silence has a language, and even when everything else is stripped away, you remain, not the you who asked questions or needed answers, but the you that simply is, weightless, endless, unshaped, but undeniably present. And in that knowing, the void hums softly, as if to say, yes, this is what you've always been. You don't know how long you've been here, drifting in the void, weightless, formless, without question or purpose. You had forgotten what it meant to seek something, to desire direction, to imagine another place beyond the one you're in. But now, something begins to shift, not in the void, but within you. A flicker, not of sight, but of sensation. It doesn't shine, it doesn't move, but you feel it, like a note, played somewhere far away, vibrating quietly in your chest. It is not sound, but you hear it. It is not warmth, but you feel it. And though your eyes, whatever eyes mean now, see only darkness, you know there is light, not around you, but beyond, not close, but not unreachable, not bright, but undeniable. It pulses softly, like breath, in, and you're not sure if it's calling to you, or if you've only just remembered it was always there. You try to define it. Is it a star, a guide, a gate, a memory? But none of those words fit, because this light is not a thing. It is a presence, a frequency, and the moment you acknowledge it, it grows stronger, not louder, not nearer, but clearer, like a line of music you hadn't noticed was always playing beneath your thoughts. And now, you are tuned to it. You feel your form, if you can still call it that, begin to shift, not by choice, but by resonance, as if the light is drawing something out of you, or perhaps drawing you toward itself. You don't feel pushed. You don't feel pulled. You feel aligned, as if you were always meant to drift this way. And now, you begin to move, not fast, not far, but definitely. Your entire awareness leans into the direction from which the light seems to echo. You can't see a path, but your presence creates one. Every subtle shift of your being becomes direction. You are no longer lost, you are en route. And in that subtle momentum, you begin to feel something else, familiarity, not with the place, not with the void, but with the light itself. You've known it, not in this form, not in this state, but somewhere, in dreams, in meditation, in the moments between waking and sleep. You've touched it, brushed against it, turned away from it, and now, you are finally listening. It doesn't speak, it doesn't demand, it simply waits, like a shoreline, waiting for the tide to return. And you are that tide drawn forward, not to escape the void, but to complete the cycle. As you drift closer, or maybe simply deeper, you feel the void begin to thin. It's still infinite, still silent, but now it holds a center, and that center is light, still soft, still distant, but now it pulses with rhythm, as if your very existence is synchronized with it, as if the two of you in this presence, are remembering each other. You wonder, is this a being? Is it a world? Is it the next phase of your journey? And then the thought dissolves, because here, it doesn't matter what something is, it matters how it feels. And this feels like return, not backwards, not toward the past, but back to something ancient, original, before stories, before words, before form. You feel a pressure in your chest now, not pain, but expansion, as if your essence has begun to stretch in preparation, not for arrival, but for reunion. You are still in the void, but now you are not of it. You are transitioning, not like a traveler, but like a frequency, changing its shape to match the next vibration. And that next vibration is drawing near. You feel it, like the breath before a name, like the pause before a door opens. And you know you are going there, not because you must, not because something awaits you, but because you've always belonged to it. And now you remember there is something beyond you now. It has no form, no voice, no outline to focus on, and yet you feel it pulling at the edges of your awareness, not like a hand reaching for you, not like a wind pushing you forward, but like a tide gently tugging at the roots of your being. It doesn't ask, it doesn't force, it simply aligns. And in that alignment, you feel your presence begin to stretch, not outward, but inward, as though you are turning towards something that has always been calling. But only now are you quiet enough to hear it. Only now are you still enough to move with it. You are no longer floating. You are being carried, not through space, but through layers. Layers of perception, layers of memory, layers of identity. One by one, they lift away from you like thin veils. And behind each one, you feel a little more weight disappear. What's strange is that you feel more you with every layer that leaves. Less thought, more truth, less memory, more knowing. And beneath all of it, the pull continues. You try to resist, not out of fear, but out of wonder. You want to see it first, name it, understand it, but the pull does not wait for understanding. It moves in rhythm with something deeper than your mind. It moves with your essence, and that essence is ready. You feel the space around you begin to change. Still no walls, still no shape, but something is gathering. A sensation, a direction, a soft funneling of attention. It's not a tunnel, it's not a path. It's more like being slowly narrowed into the exact version of yourself that is meant to continue. All the scattered pieces, the memories, the thoughts, the voices, they're quiet now, and what remains is the part of you that listens. The pull is getting stronger, but not heavier, not faster, just deeper, like your presence is being drawn into a new frequency. You begin to feel things, not emotions, exactly, but impressions, like warmth without heat, like sound without tone. You feel contact before contact has happened, as if something is approaching you, or maybe you're approaching yourself, the version of you that's been waiting on the other side of this knowing. The pull intensifies, still soft, still sacred, but undeniable. And then you feel it, a resonance, somewhere in your chest, maybe your spine, maybe not in your body at all. A pulse that matches the rhythm of whatever is calling you. And in that match, you feel peace. Not the kind of peace that comes after conflict, but the peace that lives before anything ever had to begin. You are not afraid. You are not lost. You are not even questioning anymore. You are simply moving, not with effort, but with agreement. And in this movement, you feel something dissolve, a tension you didn't know you were carrying. It leaves you, and in its absence, there is only clarity. The pull has become presence. You are no longer being led. You are now arriving, not at a place, not at a destination, but at a state of recognition, of reunion, of return. But to what? You still do not know. You do not need to, because the light, the presence, whatever it is, it doesn't offer answers, it offers remembrance. And as you move closer, closer to something that has no distance, you begin to feel it all over your being, not just in the mind, not just in the body, but in the field of who you are. You are entering, not a space, but a truth, and it welcomes you, like a mother who's always known you would come back. You let yourself lean into it, let yourself dissolve into it, let yourself be taken, not away, but deeper, deeper into the light that is not light, into the knowing that is not taught, into the presence that is not separate. And as you surrender, you feel the final layer of resistance slip from your awareness, and in its place, only stillness, only yes, only home. There is no beginning to the descent, no sound that marks the shift, no line that separates stillness from motion, only a subtle shift, so gentle, so silent. You question whether it's movement at all, but something has changed. The vast quiet that held you, the limitless void you floated within, no longer feels like a resting place. Now it feels like something is pulling you, not downward, not forward, but inward. A slow gathering of everything you are, everything you were, into a shape, without edges. You do not fall, you are not dropped. You descend, softly, steadily, like a breath you didn't know you were holding, finally being released. There is no gravity, no floor approaching, but you feel yourself getting closer to something, closer to weight, closer to density, closer to truth. Each second you remain in this motionless fall, you feel a little more of yourself peel away, not violently, but like mist leaving the surface of water at sunrise. You feel thought dissolve, not because you've stopped thinking, but because you no longer need to think. Ideas unravel before they reach completion. Desire untangles itself from the root. Even memory fades. Not like forgetting, but like becoming irrelevant. You don't need what you carried, because what lies ahead, what waits below, demands a lighter form of you. You feel no fear, no confusion, only permission, like something ancient within you has whispered, now. And so you let yourself descend, not with your body. You left that far above, not with your name. That too has scattered. You descend with what remains, and what remains is what is real. Your awareness feels stretched, not thinner, but wider. It no longer sits behind your eyes. It expands like the surface of a still lake, growing in every direction. You become aware of things without looking for them. Shifts in texture, not of air, but of sensation. A thickening of the space around you, a slow compression, not of matter, but of meaning. Where once there was infinite silence, now there is tone, a frequency, not heard but felt. It vibrates at the edge of your form, if you still have form, and it sings in a way only stillness can. This descent is not through dimensions, it is through understanding, through layers of assumption, through walls you didn't know you built, each layer thinner than the last, each one whispering as it parts. This is not you, and so you continue, not chasing, but allowing. The light you once felt, distant and soft, is no longer far, but it hasn't moved. You have drawn near, and with each breath, you feel yourself enter a deeper resonance with it, not like orbit, not like contact, like remembrance, as if your very essence is remembering how to vibrate in its presence, and that memory is waking you, but not waking you up, waking you down, further into yourself, further into where you've always been, but never touched, until now. There is no sound here, but the silence holds shape. It presses gently against your awareness. Not like pressure, but like the quiet weight of ancient thought. You feel that weight increase as you drift further into the deep, and yet, it is not burden, it is density, a concentration of presence, as if everything around you has been distilled into its most potent form, and now you are approaching it, not fast, but directly, like gravity. But for the soul, you realize, you are no longer simply moving, you are becoming. The descent is not something happening to you, it is something you are allowing. You feel the old names slip away, not just yours, but all names, all labels. Even the word you begins to feel unnecessary. You are not a thing descending, you are the act of descent itself, a verb without subject, a process without identity, and it feels natural, like exhaling after lifetimes of holding your breath. No fear, no tension, just release. There are no questions here. Even where am I feels foolish, because in this depth, there is no where, there is only now, and even that word feels soft at the edges, because time is loosening. You feel seconds stretch, like golden threads, weaving you into something greater. The deeper you go, the more of you there is, not as more thoughts, not as more form, but as more knowing. You remember things you never learned, you sense truths that cannot be taught, and none of it surprises you, because in this space, truth is not something to be discovered, it is something to return to, and you are returning. The light, the one you once called distant, now hums within your every motion. It pulses with you, not in rhythm, but in resonance, as if it's not guiding you, but harmonizing with you. You feel as though you are being sung into form, not forced into shape, but gently sung, by a song that doesn't use sound, and has no beginning, only present, only tone, only trust. You begin to notice textures in the stillness, not rough or smooth, but layered. The descent is no longer silent, it is musical. Each moment reveals a new vibration, like entering deeper octaves of reality. You feel them vibrate through you, not just through your awareness, but through your essence, like a memory of sound. Before ears were invented, you pass through chords of being, some bright, some heavy, some so pure, they make you forget everything, except the fact that you are real. You feel no pull to stop, no instinct to turn back. There is nothing to return to, and even if there were, you would no longer fit. The self that once floated in the outer layers of space, the one who asked "What is this?" has unraveled, not destroyed, not lost, but sifted. The unnecessary parts dissolve, the essential ones crystallized, and now you descend as essence only. You begin to sense form again, not your own, but the form of something vast, something below, or within, or surrounding. You don't see it, but you feel its edge approaching, not like a wall, not like a floor, like welcome, as if this presence has been watching your descent with ancient patience, and now is ready to receive you. Not because you've proven anything, but because you've remembered how to arrive. You slow, not because something stops you, but because some deep part of you remembers how to kneel, not with knees, but with reverence. You descend into that reverence, and in doing so, you complete something, a cycle, a spiral, a song, and what remains now is contact. The descent ends, not with a landing, not with a thud, not with a flash of light, but with stillness. Stillness, so complete, it feels like the moment before creation. You are no longer falling, because there is nowhere else to fall to. You've reached the deepest part of yourself, and it is not dark, it is not empty, it is not even quiet, it is alive. The space around you pulses with recognition, not as if it sees you, but as if it knows you. It breathes you in and breathes you back out, not to take you, not to release you, but to remind you that you are part of it. Always were, always will be. You have reached the foundation, and in this foundation, there are no words, no lessons, only remembering. And so you remain there, for a while or forever. There is no difference, because in this state, time is a breath, and space is a thought. You are resting, not in silence, but in the hum of all that is, and you are no longer descending, you are now within. You are not rising, you are not falling, you are not moving forward or drifting back. You are in between, not in the way two places are separated by space, not in the way time holds before and after. This is something else. You are between vibrations, between pulses, between frequencies. You are suspended in a space where motion isn't a path, it's a rhythm, and you are no longer the one moving, you are the one being moved. There is no light here, no shadow, nothing to see, but you don't feel blind, you feel surrounded by tone, by hymn, by sensation. It brushes across the edges of your awareness, like ripples in invisible water. You realize you're not floating anymore, you're resonating. Your very being is vibrating, not as one steady note, but as many flickering, phasing, shifting, sometimes expanding, sometimes folding inward. You do not control this, but you are not out of control. You are simply in flow. Some moments feel thick, like moving through honey made of memory. Other moments are sharp, thin lines of awareness cutting through you like light through crystal. You don't resist any of it, because resistance requires something solid to push against. And here, there is no solidity, only transitions. Each vibration you pass through feels like a place, but you cannot stay, not because you are pushed out, but because you are not meant to remain. These aren't destinations, they are frequencies of your own self, and you are passing through them. Each one shows you something, not with images, but with knowing. A truth you forgot, a question you never asked, a name that isn't yours, but somehow feels familiar. You don't grab at these fragments. You let them pass through you, and in their passing, you soften, like ice melting into vapor. You begin to feel transparent, not empty, but open. You are no longer here to hold on to anything. You are here to experience everything, to become the space between the notes, to become the breath between words, to become the moment between thoughts. This is not a chamber. This is a bridge, and bridges are not homes. They are passages. You wonder what lies at the other end, but that thought is swept away before it can root itself, because here, questions dissolve as easily as answers, and you begin to notice something strange. There is a pattern, not in shape, but in tone. A rise, a pause, a fall, a rise again, but never the same. The vibration around you is alive. It is listening. It is learning you. Each time you pass through a layer, it remembers, it adjusts, it tunes, and slowly you are being tuned as well. You feel frequencies brush against you that make your skin, if you still have skin, hewn like glass under a soft finger. You feel your soul crack in places, not break, just open. Old echoes rise from within you, sounds you've never heard, but somehow know. You are not afraid. you are curious, you are present. You realize now that this in-between space is not a delay, it is not a hallway between rooms, it is part of the journey. It is the only place where you are nothing and everything, where you are not choosing, you are becoming. You begin to sense others, not beside you, not around you, but within the same resonance, beings, awarenesses, trails of consciousness, moving through their own frequencies, sometimes yours and theirs align. For a moment, you feel not alone. A memory surfaces that is not yours. You taste a thought, hear a feeling, touch a question, and then they fade, not away, just elsewhere. You understand. This is a corridor of many rivers, and you are all water. You do not crash into each other. You pass, you shimmer, you dissolve, you reappear. You are becoming so light now, so untethered, that even the idea of return feels abstract. Why would you go back to one note when you are learning to sing in a chord? You feel something now, a slowing, not outside you, but in the vibration itself. The resonance narrows, the transitions become less sharp, the pulses less chaotic. You are settling, not into a place, but into a harmonic, a space where you are no longer being moved. You are now moving with. You've matched something, a tone, a signal, a pulse that was always looking for a body, and now it has found yours. There is still no floor, still no sky, but you feel a foundation, not below, but within. You are stabilizing, and in that stability, you feel the vibrations calm, and you know you are reaching the end of the in-between, not because the journey is ending, but because something is about to begin. You don't see it at first. There is no structure, no outline, no shape that separates one side from the other, but still, you feel it. Something fixed, still, present. You've passed through layers, through frequencies, through vibration and stillness, but now you are before something. It isn't blocking you. It isn't resisting you, but it is waiting, waiting for something only you can offer. You move closer, though there is no step, no floor, no sound beneath you, just intention and alignment. The space around you has stilled, as if the entire world has paused to see if you remember how to move forward. You're no longer being pulled. You're no longer being carried. Now, you must approach, and you do, not with speed, but with presence. And the closer you come, the clearer it becomes. There is a boundary here, not made of matter, but of vibration, a shift, a wall of stillness, so complete that your breath, if you still had breath, softens in its presence. It is not cold, it is not warm, but it is alive. You cannot touch it, not because it's far, but because touch is not what it understands. This is not a door that opens outward, it opens inward. You try to look for a handle, an edge, a seam. There is nothing, only silence, only waiting, and then you feel it, the sensation of being watched, not with eyes, not with thought, but with resonance. This door is aware of you, and not just the you that is here now. It sees the parts of you still unraveling, still uncertain, still clinging to shape. It sees the places where your vibration is uneven. It feels the tiny pulses of resistance, the flickers of fear, the whispers of doubt, and it does not judge. It simply waits. Because this door, this threshold, can only be crossed by what is fully aligned, not perfect, not pure, but honest. It doesn't require belief, it requires truth, not spoken, not thought, but felt. And so you stand before it, not as a seeker, not as a question, but as an echo, returning to the source that cast it. The door, or the presence of it, begins to hum, a low, deep vibration, not loud, but deep enough to move through you, like the sound of your own becoming. And with every second you stand there, you feel your own resonance shift. not because you are trying, but because you are matching. You are becoming what the door already knows. You are no longer imagining the way through. You are remembering how to exist in the shape that fits. This isn't about opening something, it's about remembering that nothing was ever closed. You feel your thoughts dissolve, your emotions settle, your entire field of being tightens slightly, aligns like a tuning fork, until you hum with a clarity that feels like standing inside a forgotten name. And the door, if it is a door, responds. It does not swing open, it does not shift, but you feel the frequency on the other side move toward you like two halves of the same note, finding harmony. And then you step. There is no flash, no sound, no threshold line. You are simply through, and what lies beyond is not a new space. It is a deeper version of where you've always been. The air, if this is air, feels aware, like it's learning you as you breathe it. The silence carries weight, not as threat, but as invitation. You do not know what this place is, but you know you belong here. You realize that the door wasn't meant to keep others out. It was there to hold you until you remembered how to arrive. And now you are here, not to begin something, but to recognize that everything ahead is made of the parts of you you used to leave behind. You have entered the space that forms around truth, and the more you stay, the more of you becomes visible to yourself, to the space, to the presence that you are beginning to feel around you, not as eyes, not as voice, but as witness. And still, no one speaks, because the door was not about asking permission. It was about discovering that you were always the one who decided when you were ready. And now, you have crossed. But there is no threshold behind you, no path left in your wake, no sound of a door shutting, no edge to mark the crossing. You are simply here, but here does not behave like place. It does not settle under your feet. It does not greet you with air. It does not offer a floor or a horizon. And yet, you know you've arrived, not by movement, not by destination, but by recognition. The space, if this is a space, meets your presence with a kind of quiet acknowledgement, like it was expecting you, not urgently, not passively, just certainly. You are not standing, you are not floating, you are being. And in that being, you feel a strange texture form around your awareness. It's not sound, not color, it's more like pressure made of memory. Soft, slow pulsing, and with every pulse, you feel a little more of this place. It begins to shape itself around you, not as walls, not as boundaries, but as response. The longer you remain, the more the space responds. To what? To you. To your resonance. To your to your presence. You begin to sense things, not objects, but impressions, like places that exist only in feeling, like a city made of intention, a horizon built from memory. You feel an expanse in every direction, but you also feel closeness. There is no distance, and yet everything feels wide, like a thought. Just before you speak it, you look if you're still capable of looking. And though there's no light, you see everything. But not with your eyes, you see with knowing, with the part of you that no longer needs proof. You recognize things you've never seen, you feel places you've never walked, and it all feels correct, like remembering something you once dreamed as someone else. You ask yourself, have I been here before? And the answer doesn't come in words. It arrives as a resonance, as a deep inner yes that doesn't need to explain itself. Yes, you've been here, not in this shape, not in this rhythm, but your core, your soul, has brushed against this frequency before time began counting itself. And now, you are finally steady enough to remain. You are not drifting anymore. You are held, The vibration that once passed through you is now gently circling you, enveloping you, matching you, as if the space is learning how to keep you close, not by force, but by agreement. You begin to feel sensations, not physical, but emotional textures, like a breeze made of patience, like a sound composed entirely of kindness. You feel understood, not in words, but in allowance. Everything here allows you to be, to soften, to release everything still clinging to tension. You feel the last echoes of fear fall from your edges, not banished, not destroyed, just no longer needed, and in their place, a stillness enters you, not silence, stillness, the kind that comes when the entire self is in agreement with the moment. You are not thinking anymore. Thought has melted. In its place is listening, not to a voice, but to existence itself. And it speaks without speaking. It says, "You're not finished, but you finally arrived where you can begin." You don't ask, "Begin what?" Because there's no urgency now. You are the beginning. You feel something shift, not in the space, but in you, a density, a glow, a readiness, like your presence is about to seed something. You are no longer here to learn. You are here to remember, and in remembering, to create. The space waits, not because it needs anything from you, but because it knows that what comes next must be chosen, not by thought, not by intention, but by alignment. So you remain, breathing without lungs, seeing without eyes, feeling without skin, and for the first time in many lives, you are not chasing anything. You are not ascending, you are not transforming, you are simply where you are meant to be, and that is enough. You begin to notice. The space no longer holds you the same way. There is a shift, not in temperature, not in tone, but in orientation. It starts gently, a subtle pull, not downward, not upward, just away from center. You were still, you were suspended, but now, something is leaning. Your awareness tilts, not violently, but as if the world around you has quietly rotated a few degrees, not the space. Something in your alignment has changed. You are no longer surrounded. You are above something, and below you, you sense it. Sky, not air, not clouds, not light, but sky. Beneath you, a vastness that shouldn't be there, and yet feels perfectly correct. There is no ground, but there is sky, and it stretches beneath your awareness like a lake made of memory. You are not falling, you are not flying, you are suspended above openness, and the openness is looking back at you. It doesn't move, it doesn't shimmer, but it pulses, softly, steadily, like the rhythm of something ancient, something awake. You feel a sensation, like standing on the ceiling of a room you didn't know could turn upside down, except here, there is no room, no surface, no architecture, only the sense that up and down have become curious about each other, and in their curiosity, they've traded places. You look below. If looking is still a function of awareness, and the more you observe, the more you feel it. The sky below is alive, not with birds, not with stars, but with possibility. It is not a canvas. It is a mirror, one that reflects not what you are, but what you're about to become. You feel it now, not gravity, but gravity reversed, not pulling you down, but inviting you in. You are weightless, and yet, you feel the soft suggestion of direction, downward, into the sky below, and it makes no sense, but it feels right. You wonder not with urgency what this sky holds. Is it space? Is it self? Is it memory? And as you wonder, it answers, not with voice, but with resonance. A low, wide hum that opens in your chest like a question you've never asked. and the answer it offers is not information, it's invitation. You are not being summoned, you are being welcomed. You descend, not fast, not slow, but perfectly. Like mist returning to the surface of the ocean, you feel the vibrations in the space change. They widen, they relax, and in their relaxation, you descend further. The sky below you shifts from reflection to container. It begins to hold you, to remember you, to recognize your frequency as something that belongs. You pass through layers of tone, each one slightly more familiar than the last. You're not remembering places, you're remembering versions of yourself, each one still vibrating somewhere, each one welcoming you back. You are not here to land, you are here to merge, and the sky below opens to receive you, not as a traveler, but as a returning note. In the middle of an eternal song, you do not resist, you do not reach, you allow, and the moment you do, you become part of the sky, not above it, not within it, but of it, and the sky becomes you. You arrive without movement, you arrive without intention. The descent ends not with contact, but with recognition. A stillness opens before you, and within that stillness, there is light. Not one, not many, just presence, flickering, shifting, breathing. The lights are not far. They do not emerge from behind walls. They are not stars scattered in distance. They surround you, soft pulses, rhythmic and slow. Each one floats like a breath held just long enough to be felt. You don't know what they are, but you know they are alive, not in the way lungs fill and hearts beat, but in the way memory glows. In the dark, the space between you and them is not space. It is resonant. Every flicker touches your frequency without speaking. Each pulse settles just beneath your skin, and you feel them, not as shapes, but as awarenesses. They are not approaching. They were always here, waiting for your silence to match theirs. And now, it does. You begin to notice each light breathes differently, some slow, some sharp, some with a rhythm that feels like language you haven't yet remembered how to understand. You don't try to decode it. You let it wash over you, like music you've never heard before, but somehow already know. Each light feels like a question, and a memory, and a home all at once. They do not speak, but they offer presence. They do not judge, but they observe. And in their stillness, you feel yourself being seen, not looked at. Seen without filter, without identity, without story. You do not feel exposed. You feel held, as if every part of you, every lifetime, every thought, every version of your name has been gently catalogued by these and they ask nothing in return, only that you allow. So you do. You allow their light to enter you, not as beams, but as pulses. You feel something open in your chest, not a heart, but a chamber, a place where sound and silence exist together. The lights respond, their breathing slows, their tones deepen. You feel one draw closer, not by distance, but by intimacy. Its glow brushes against you, like a childhood memory you forgot was yours. It holds something, not an answer, but a reflection. It lets you feel yourself the way they feel you, and in that reflection, you cry, not with tears, but with vibration, a release, a surrender, not to pain, but to truth. You are not alone, you have never been. The lights do not react, They simply continue breathing, glowing, being. You begin to sense that each of them holds something unique, a story, a frequency, a note in a cosmic chord. You are just beginning to hear. One feels like sorrow, but not heavy, another like laughter, from before voices were born, another like silence, so perfect, it sings, and all of them are connected to each other, to you, to something beyond this moment. You realize this field, this space, this glowing tapestry of breath and light. It is not a location, it is a gathering, a constellation of consciousness, beings who no longer need form, only tone, only presence, only vibration, and you are among them, not visiting, not observing, among. They do not guide you, they do not lead, but they surround you, and in doing so, they teach you how to stay, how to be still, how to radiate without reaching, and suddenly, you understand, this is not the destination, this is the pause, the moment before the door opens, the inhale before the first note, the stillness between pulses. You rest there, long enough to forget what it felt like to be alone, long enough to remember that presence is the purest form of communication, and when you are ready, you begin to breathe with them, not mimic, not follow, but join, and in that breath, you disappear, not into nothing, but into everything. There is no warning, no signal, no voice whispering from the edge of the space, only a feeling, something soft, something slow, something old. It arrives as a tremble in the center of your awareness. Not pain, not fear, but the echo of something deeply familiar, and yet, you know, it's not yours. This memory, this shape, this flicker of meaning, it does not belong to you. And still, you feel it as if it does. It curls around you like mist with intent, and you inhale it, not with lungs, but with presence, and in that breath, you fall into it, not downward, not through space, but through knowing. You do not see images, you do not hear voices, but you feel what once was, a choice, a separation, a moment long ago, in a life you never lived, but somehow, you carry its weight. The feeling settles into your bones, like it's always been there. The decision, the cost, the consequence, none of it makes sense in language, but your body, your soul remembers it anyway. The memory doesn't belong to your story, but it belongs to your essence. And in that contradiction, you understand something important. Memories are not always owned. Sometimes, they are shared, passed, echoed. Sometimes a soul carries the imprint of something it never touched, because some truths are too heavy to live in only one heart. And this memory, this weightless grief, this ancient ache, it has found home in you, but it does not hurt. It unfolds gently, like a story being told by someone who knows you are finally ready to listen. You see a choice, not yours, but one made in trust, a surrender, a departure, a goodbye so quiet, it echoes across lifetimes. You don't need to know who or when, you only need to feel that this happened and that it still matters. You feel the emotion of it move through you, and instead of turning away, you hold it, you let it bloom, and it changes. It shifts from sadness to beauty, from ache to honor, from burden to blessing. The memory breathes inside you, and you let it stay, not because it's yours, but because it was never meant to be carried alone. You feel the lights around you, still breathing, still watching, but now, more silent, as if they too are remembering, as if this moment isn't just yours, but part of a shared vibration, a collective truth. And then, the memory releases, not gone, just complete, and you feel lighter, not emptied, but expanded. A space has opened within you, one you didn't know was closed, and into that space, more comes, not words, not images, but possibility. You are now a vessel, not for stories, but for resonance, and something within you shifts. You are no longer here just to feel, you are here to hold, to witness, to echo back the things too old to be spoken. You are not the beginning of this memory, but maybe you are its continuation, and that is enough. You breathe, not to survive, but to remain, and the space breathes with you, all around, through you, as you, and in that breath, you become something more, not someone, just more, and the lights, without moving, acknowledge you, without sound, without form, only presence, only truth. There is something ahead. You don't see it, you don't hear it, but you feel the space ahead of you, waiting, not with urgency, not with expectation, but with awareness. It is not calling you, but it knows you're coming. You do not walk, you do not move, you simply allow, and in that allowing, you begin to sense someone, something, watching, not in the way eyes watch, from behind a door, not in the way a gaze presses from across a room. This is not attention, this is witness, complete, still, unmoving. You step, if this is still stepping, into a presence so quiet, it hums, it says nothing, it offers no greeting, but its stillness speaks, and you listen. The lights have drifted behind you, the field remains, but you have entered a space that belongs only to you, and the watcher. It does not stand, it does not rise, it simply is, as if it has always been here, waiting for the exact shape you have now become. It does not recognize your face, it recognizes your frequency. You feel its awareness like a hand, hovering just over your skin. It doesn't touch, but you feel it anyway, not invasive, not searching, just present. And in its presence, you feel yourself begin to dissolve, not disappear, but disarm. There is no defense here, because there is no judgment. The watcher is not here to decide, it is here to reflect. You try to speak, but no sound comes, because there is nothing left to ask, and nothing that needs to be said. You and the watcher understand each other. Without word, it knows every version of you, the ones that hurt, the ones that hid, the ones that searched, but never dared to open. It knows them, and more importantly, it accepts them completely. In its silence, you feel a love that does not need softness, a kindness that never needed permission. It does not move, and still, you feel it shift something in you, like a stone finally sinking to the bottom of a river. Not in shame, in peace. You are no longer reaching, you are no longer protecting, you are simply seen, and the watcher stays, without expectation, without agenda. It simply watches, and in doing so, it teaches, not by showing, but by being. You wonder if you've seen it before, in dreams, in those quiet moments, between breath and thought, and something inside you says, yes, but not outside. You have seen it within. It has always been there, behind every choice, at the edge of every fear, in the silence you never let grow long enough. And now that silence stretches, not as emptiness, but as truth. You sit, not with your body, but with your presence, and the watcher remains. Hours pass, or maybe no time at all, because here, there is only being, and you have remembered how to do that, fully. You do not ask for direction. You do not need it, because the Watcher's gaze reminds you you are already on your way. There is no instruction, only reflection, and in that reflection, you remember who you were before the world asked you to become something else. You remember who you were before the noise, before the name, before the need, and for a long, long moment, you do nothing except exist as you are, and that is enough. The Watcher doesn't leave, it doesn't fade, but eventually, you feel yourself begin to shift again, not pulled, not pushed, but gently, curiously, moving, and the Watcher watches, not to keep you, but to honor the part of you that is finally ready to begin again. It begins before you know it. A sensation, subtle, barely there, like a whisper beneath your skin. At first, you think it's memory, a leftover tremor from the stillness you just left. But then, it grows, not louder, not faster, just more present, like a second heartbeat in a room with no sound. It doesn't belong to you, and yet, it moves with you. You don't chase it, you don't resist, you simply notice, and the moment you do, it steadies, not with rhythm, but with recognition. You feel it settle beneath your own pulse, not on top of it, not beside it, but within it. It fits perfectly, as if it's always been there, waiting for you to become quiet enough to hear it. You are no longer alone in your frequency. Something else, someone else, is vibrating alongside you, not speaking, not reaching, just being. And in that being, you feel a calm so deep, it feels like sleep, without the loss of awareness. You want to find it, to move toward it, but there's nothing to move through. It's not ahead of you, it's around you, and the more you surrender, the more it surrounds. You begin to feel changes in yourself. Not transformation, but attunement, like your entire field of awareness is tuning itself slowly, precisely, to match something ancient, something familiar. And the closer your frequencies become, the more complete you feel, not because you were broken, but because you were always meant to harmonize with this presence, this pulse. It does not reveal itself, but it offers access, and you accept. Not by decision, but by vibration. You no longer need proof, because your entire being is singing, and in that song, there is alignment. Every thought feels lighter, every breath slower. Even your memories begin to hum. The painful ones soften, the joyful ones stretch out, and everything in you begins to rest inside the frequency of something that is not separate from you. You're not merging, you're not being absorbed, you're matching, and it feels like coming home to a place that never needed walls. The pulse guides you inward, not into yourself, but into us. You feel it now, this presence, this vibration. It is not singular, it is shared. You are not the only one attuning. Others, somewhere, somehow, are humming too, and the space between all of you is beginning to glow, not with light, but with harmony, like the air around you is singing in unison, like the universe is remembering what it sounds like to be in tune. And you are part of the melody, not a note on the surface, but the one that holds the chord together. You realize you are not matching this pulse, you are returning to it. It was always yours, always waiting, always ready, and now you feel yourself stabilize completely, finally, without resistance, without doubt, just resonance. You are no longer adjusting, you are aligned, and in that alignment, you feel a kind of welcome that doesn't come from words, only from truth. There is no destination now, because where you are is not a place, it's a state, a precise, still, harmonious state, where your presence is indistinguishable from peace, and the pulse, still beating, still holding, continues. As you It arrives without sound, without light, without warning. You don't sense it coming because you were never meant to anticipate it. This is not something earned, not something discovered. It is simply given, a gift, but not in the way the mind imagines. There is no box, no shape, no hands offering, just a presence, soft, patient, and deeply aware of you. It doesn't approach, it doesn't reveal itself, but you feel it bloom like a secret in the center of your chest. It doesn't press, it doesn't pull, but it wants to be known, and you, still humming, in the calm resonance of the pulse that matches yours, are quiet enough now to receive. The gift is not knowledge, it is not instruction, it is recognition. It sees something in you that even you have not seen, not yet, but it knows it's there. And so, it shows you, not with vision, not with words, but with remembrance. Suddenly, you feel something unfurl, a shape, within your being, coiled for eons, waiting. You didn't even know it was there, but it opens now, effortlessly, like a breath you've never taken until this very moment. And inside that breath is the gift, a code, not made of numbers, not made of thoughts, but made of frequency. It moves through you like silk, folding around each part of your awareness, activating, remembering, unfreezing, and as it does, you feel things shift, not violently, but with clarity. Parts of you, the ones that stayed quiet, the ones you left behind, the ones you didn't even know were waiting, they stir, and they listen, and they begin to sing, not loudly, not outwards, but inward, in the deepest chambers of your soul. You are being unlocked. The gift does not give you something new, it returns something lost, and in its return, you soften, you stretch, you open. The memory isn't clear, but the feeling is undeniable. This was always yours, and yet, you never asked for it, because you forgot it existed, and now that it's here, you don't question, you remember, you feel your entire being glow, not visibly, but energetically, like your inner field has caught flame, but it doesn't burn, it warms. It guides, and it expands. The gift is not something to use, it's something to become, and in becoming it, you realize you no longer need the things you thought made you whole, the title, the doubts, the boundaries, even the seeking. It all falls away, because the gift, this living resonance you now carry, has shown you something truer, not who you are, but what you've always been. You look around, though there is nothing to see, and yet everything feels different. The space responds to you differently now, not because it has changed, but because you've received, and in doing so, you've shifted. Subtly, permanently, you feel a silence settle over you, not empty, but sacred, like the pause between inhale and exhale, like the stillness before thunder, a silence that holds everything, and you rest inside it, holding the gift, not tightly, just completely. You do not need to share it, you do not need to explain, because this kind of truth is not spoken, it is lived, and in the space around you, a new harmony begins to form, one that includes you, not as guest, but as source. You feel the first flickers of what comes next, not as a pull, not as a call, but as a gentle sense of readiness. The gift has rooted in you, it has become you, and whatever you are now, is exactly what the next door has been waiting for. You feel it before you know it's real, a presence, but different from the others. It doesn't watch, it doesn't reach, it simply waits. And inside that waiting, there is a message, but it is not wrapped in words. It is not carved into sound. It does not speak through language or image. It just exists, perfectly whole, perfectly quiet, and still you hear it, not with ears, but with the center of your being, like a whisper rising from inside your cells, a vibration, not loud, but deep. You try to understand it, but there is nothing to interpret, no alphabet to decode, no tone to translate. And still, you know exactly what it says, because what it says is not meant for your mind. It's meant for the part of you that remembers what knowing feels like before thought is born. You lean in. You don't ask for more. You simply sit and let it arrive. And it does, softly, completely, all at once, like a breath you forgot you were holding. Finally let go. It tells you everything, without saying anything. It shows you who you are, without images. It speaks of where you've been, without time, and still, you feel it, as clearly as touch, as deeply as breath. The message is not meant to guide. It is meant to align, to tune you, to bring every thread of your presence into harmony. It doesn't offer instructions. It reminds you what you already carry, and the moment you accept that, it deepens. You feel memories stir, but they are not yours. They are collective, shared, like dreams, drifting between souls. You feel lifetimes brush past your skin, lands you've never walked, names you've never held, and yet they settle into you like home, because this message is ancient, and you were built to receive it. You begin to glow, not with light, but with awareness, like being seen from the inside out, like every silence in your life was waiting for this moment. You do not need to speak, because every thought you could have is already held within this presence. Every fear, every question, every longing, it knows them, not to answer them, but to dissolve them. And one by one, they begin to fade. You don't fight to hold them, you let them leave. You let the emptiness come, because in this emptiness, you finally feel whole. The message keeps flowing, but you are no longer listening, you are becoming it. Its rhythm, its stillness, its pulse, you merged, not with an idea, but with a truth. And it fits, like a frequency, finding its home in a body, like water remembering the shape of the vessel it once filled. There is peace here, but not the kind you earn, the kind you remember. And in remembering it, you understand something else. This message was never meant to end. It is not a sentence. It is a state, one that will echo in you long after this moment passes. You will carry it, not on your skin, but in your silence, in the way your breath will change, in the way your presence will soften, in the way your choices will hum, with a wisdom you won't be able to explain, and that will be enough. The message doesn't fade, because it never began, it simply continues. In you, through you, as you, and in that knowing, you smile, not outwardly, with lips, but with soul, and the presence that sent the message smiles back. You begin to feel it before you understand it. A shift, not a change in place, but a change in direction. Something turns inward, but also away. You are not being sent back, and yet you are moving, not outward, not away from what you found, but through it. There is no sensation of leaving, no parting words, no sealed gates or closed doors, because where you've been never needed to hold you. It only needed to help you remember. And now that you have, you feel the release, a gentle letting go, not from them, but you. You let go of the moment, let go of the pulse, let go of the frequency you merged with, not because it's over, but because it has become part of you. And with it, you begin to return, but not to where you started, because returning is not going back. There is no body waiting, no room left behind, no clock ticking in your absence. You are not walking into memory. You are flowing forward, into something both familiar and new. Your awareness stretches, not outward, but deeper, as though return itself is just another layer of path. You feel a lightness, not weightlessness, but clarity, like decisions you've not yet made, already feel whole, like thoughts before they even form, already feel done. You are not shrinking back into an old version of yourself. You are expanding into one that always waited beneath the surface. The space around you feels different now, not because it changed, but because your lens did. Where once there was mist, now there's resonance. Where once you floated, now you move, purposefully, quietly, without needing to understand where or why. Your presence begins to ripple. You no longer match the field you were in, not because you've lost harmony, but because harmony has shifted. You have become a frequency that no longer belongs here, not rejected, not pushed away, just complete. You drift, and in drifting, you begin to feel something familiar, a shape, not of body, but of self, a structure reassembling, not to contain you, but to help you touch the world again. You feel thought return, but it is slower now, wider, gentler. You feel breath return, though not from lungs, but from rhythm, from flow. You are not descending, you are not rising, you are unfolding into the next version of being. The layers you left behind do not return to you. They are gone, shed, like skin that no longer fits. And what remains is true, not about who you were or what you saw, but what you've become. You are not the seeker anymore. You are the echo, the message, the presence that others may one day reach. And still, you keep moving, not home, not back, but forward, through soft corridors that know your name, without ever needing to speak it. You begin to feel time again, not in hours, but in moments, each one delicate, each one wide, and within them, you sense arrival, not all at once, but as a landing. You do not feel, yet somehow know, you've returned, but nothing is the same, because you are not the one who left. And this is not the world you remember, even if it looks the same, even if the sounds still echo. Something within you moves differently now, responds differently, breathes differently. You return, but you do not go back, because back is a direction, and this is a becoming. There is a thread. You don't see it. You don't touch it, but you know it's there. A line, thin, still, alive. It stretches between what was and what now is. It hums quietly, like a breath you forgot was yours. It is not a door, not a veil, not a tunnel. It is a boundary without wall, a shimmer, a seam, and you are moving toward it, not pulled, not pushed, but drawn by something inside you that recognizes its purpose. The thread doesn't ask, it doesn't test, it simply waits, because it knows you must. You reach it, but not with hands, with presence, and the moment you do, you feel its texture. It is not soft, it is not sharp, it is precise, like touching the pause between two notes, the edge of a moment that has not yet begun. You stay there, hovering, wrapped in the final quiet. You feel everything, the before, the after, the weight you left behind. the memory you now carry. And in the stillness, the thread begins to respond, not by moving, not by opening, but by match. It begins to hum with the exact frequency you have become. And only then do you pass through, not step, not fall. You are simply through, and in that passage, you feel everything shift. The air thickens, or maybe time, or maybe the sense of distance itself. You are no longer floating. You are no longer dissolving. You are crossing, but not into a place, into a form, one built for this next layer. You don't remember what it looked like before, but that no longer matters, because this form, this light, this thread of was woven for this moment. As you pass fully through the thread, you feel the quiet behind you fold in on itself, not to close, but to rest, like a sigh at the end of a long exhale. You are not the same, not because of what you saw, but because of what you became while seeing. And the thread, now behind you, fades. Not gone, just no longer needed. You move forward into something more structured, not rigid, but intentional. The space begins to respond again. It shapes gently around your new resonance. Not to contain you, but to reflect you, and you hold steady. For the first time in what feels like lifetimes, you feel centered, not fixed, just aligned. The clarity settles in your chest, like a calm, a knowing, a return not to where you were, but to who you are. You are not waiting anymore. You are not becoming anymore. You are simply ready, and everything around you knows it too. It doesn't leave you. The journey moves, the space shifts, you return, but the whisper, it stays, not loud, not clear, but constant, a breath that didn't fully exhale, a note that never truly ended. You feel it beneath your thoughts, like a gentle current under still water, not pulling, not pushing, just existing. And in that existence, you remember everything, not as scenes, not as words, but as sensation. You remember the way silence tasted, the way stillness felt alive. You remember the lights, the pulse, the gift, the thread, and the one who watched. But most of all, you remember you, not the version that left. Not the one who floated, but the version that emerged from what could never be explained. You try to place it, this whisper, where it lives now. It isn't in your mind. It isn't in your breath. It's in your being, like a tone only you can hear, like a presence folded within presence. You listen to it, not because it speaks, but because it reminds you that you were there and that part of you never came back. Not really, because not everything should return. Some things are meant to stretch out, to echo, to seed new awareness. And this whisper, it's not a message, it's a marker, a sign that something opened and didn't close, that something began and kept going. Even after you stepped away, you carry it now, not as weight, but as resonance. Others won't hear it, but they might feel it, in the way your presence lingers a little longer, in the way your eyes rest a little deeper, in the way silence becomes sacred when you enter a room, because the whisper stays, and it shapes you, gently, unseen, but undeniable. You may forget the details, the names, the patterns, but you won't forget this quiet hum, this inner stillness, this soft vibration that touches every choice you make. And it won't ask for anything, it won't demand attention, it will simply be there when you pause, when you breathe, When you stand at the edge of something uncertain, it will return, not louder, but close. It will wrap itself around your hesitation and remind you that you have already walked through the impossible and survived it, not as the same, but as something more honest. You feel it even now, as you stand, wherever this now, you feel the whisper settle into your chest, and you know, this isn't memory. It's presence. It's what remains. After everything else falls away, the story will fade, the details will blur, but the vibration, the tone, the breath that never ended, it will stay like a lantern, deep within your spirit, not to light the path, but to remind you, you have already seen the dark and become its student, and so you walk forward, with the whisper, with the quiet, with the song that only you know now, and every step echo, softly, unshakably, forever. It doesn't start with a sound. It starts with a feeling, a shift, barely noticeable, like something moved inside something else. And you are both. There is no alarm, no rise in tension, only a soft opening, like the breath right before a whisper. But this time, you're not the one receiving, you're the one about to speak, but not with words, with presence. The journey has ended, but the echo is only beginning. You don't need to understand what that means. You only need to feel it, and you dig deep in your awareness. A vibration builds, not from outside, but from within the place where stillness and knowing met. That quiet space you carried all the way back. It begins to pulse, slow, sure, not like a drum, more like a ripple, expanding, effortless. It moves through you and around you. It touches the places you've been, the frequencies you harmonized with, the watchers, the lights, the breath between vibrations, and they respond, not to your voice, but to your alignment. You are no longer the one becoming, you are the one radiating, and the world listens, not because you're louder, but because you are clearer. The echo carries no instruction, no demand, only signal that something has changed, that someone remembered, and in that remembering, something sacred has been released. You feel it expand. You don't guide it. You don't aim it. You simply allow, and like a circle drawn in endless sky, the echo travels beyond form, beyond language, beyond need. It reaches spaces you've never known, and still you sense it, like a thread spinning out from your being, weaving across realities, touching other selves, other dreamers, other points of light, who've been waiting for this vibration. And when it touches them, they won't know your name, they won't know your face, but they will feel the resonance. And in that feeling, something inside them will stir, will shift, will open, because echoes don't speak to minds, they speak to remembering, and yours has begun. You are no longer asking what you've become, you are becoming it moment by moment, step by step, even in the ordinary, even in the quiet, even when the memory fades. The echo does not, because the echo is not sound, it is frequency, it is memory carried by motion, it is truth carried by stillness, it is present. You've returned, but return is no longer a direction, it is a choice, and you have chosen to remain open, and in that openness, everything echoes softly, endlessly, not outward, but through the moments you forget, through the ones you remember, through the lives you touch, and the ones you'll never know you did. And so it begins. The cycle, the hum, the breath before awakening. You are not done. You are never done. You are only resonating. And every time someone listens, every time someone drifts, every time someone dreams, you will be there. Not as guide, not as shadow, but as echo, a soft vibration, waiting to be heard.